Okay, so the first lesson of maths this term is all about money. So this first teaching video, I'm going to just go through the basics with you with regards to money, because money is one of those things in maths that can be tricky for some people. Even if you're amazing at maths, sometimes you can find coins and change and decimals tricky. So it's always best to start at the very, very basics. So I thought I'd give a little history lesson on where money has come from in our country. So in 80 BC, the Celts first minted their first coins. And then the Romans came along and brought their own coinage in 43 AD. And then coins have always been around since then, but the biggest dates were in 1272, the halfpenny and the farthing were introduced. In 1344 was the first gold coin used. Lots of European countries at this time used gold, and Britain had tried to use gold for their coins quite a lot, but a lot of the time they were underweight, therefore they weren't valued as much. And then the biggest change that affects us today is in 1971, the decimalisation of British coinage. Before then, we used pennies and shillings, whereas we then converted to what we know today of there being 100 pennies in a pound. So that's the biggest change that's affected us today. Right, so when you are dealing with money, you're mainly going to be seeing this sign here. This one is the most common sign to show pounds, with just the one line across and the corner coming like this. You may sometimes, but rarely, see it with two lines across. That's quite rare. And then sometimes you'll see it in this kind of font with the little twirl around the end there. But they're the three main signs for pound. Down in this corner here, I've got one sign here, which is the dollar sign, which I know a lot of keyboards will come across now. I just want you to see the difference between the two. That's an American currency. And then here, one that you've probably seen quite a lot is the euro sign as well. So lots of companies in the European Union use euros there, which is really interesting because they would have had their own coinage for hundreds of years with great tradition and history around it, but made a massive decision to change to the euro, mainly because if you're traveling between countries or you're doing business between countries, it's a lot easier to deal with the same currency all at the same time. So let's move on to the next one. These are the different notes that we use in our country. We've got the £5 note here, which is a blue one, a £10 note, a £20 note, and a £50 note there. Quite rare to actually come across a £50 note. Quite a few shops don't even accept them, or try not to accept them anyway, because £50 notes are the most common notes for people to make fake ones with. So rather interesting now. I can't remember the last time I held a £50 note. They're very rare to handle. Now here, the thing that I want to point out here is that you've got the £5 note and the £10 note, but if you had two £5 notes, that would make the same value as one £10 note. So exactly the same as if I had two £10 notes, that would be the same value as one £20 note. So it's quite important to know that. Of course, you need 10 £5 notes to make one £50 note. So it's quite important. And sometimes in maths it looks like there's loads of money, but actually because of the value of it, then another one is worth more. So for example, if I had three £5 notes, it looks like I've got a lot more. But the one £20 note is still worth more, isn't it? Because that's worth £20 rather than the 15 I've made there. So that's just one interesting aspect of money. The other thing is that you've got to be aware that sometimes up in Scotland they'll have different pictures on their notes. Sometimes there'll be special editions made that might look slightly different. but they are really interesting to look at. If you've got one in the house, have a look quite close at it, because there's lots of hidden details within those notes as well. Recently they've been changed in the material that they're made. You used to really carefully check your pockets before you washed any of your trousers, because if you put some money in there, then by the time it's come out the washing machine, it'll all be disintegrated because it was made of a paper material. Whereas these days, they're much more sturdier, and you don't really see them being damaged at all because they're kind of like a lot stronger, I suppose you'd say. And then we've got the coins that we're moving on to. We've got the 1 penny, or 1p, means the same thing. 2 pence, 5 pence, 10 pence, 20 pence, 50 pence, £1, and £2. It's important to note that these are changed in size to what they are actually in real life. I highly recommend you going around the house and finding as much change as you can and having a look at them. And it's really quite interesting. On all of them, there'll be the date of when that coin was created. Try and find several amounts of them and put them into date order if you can. That's a really good activity to be doing. Try and find the oldest coin you can. Try and find the newest coin that you can find as well. And just hold them and have a look at the shape that they are. Now, the 1 penny looks like it's made of copper, but it's actually copper. It's steel coated in copper. Is a round coin. So is the 2p, but the 2p is quite larger. 5p is a different colour but smaller, and still round. 10p is still round but a lot bigger than the 5p. And then when you get to the 20p, you get to the first one that's a different shape. And that's handy because if you've got your hand in your pocket and you're looking for a coin amongst other coins, then you can easily feel the shape of the coin and know that it's a 20 pence because of the shape that it is. Same with the 50p as well. And then the £1, when I grew up, £1 was circular. However, it's now a 12-sided shape there, and it's 2 different colours. That's silver and that gold as well. Same with the £2 coin as well. Right, so here I just want to show you how we can add coins together. So at the top row we're looking at first, ignore the bottom row. I'm just going to add them up. So I've got £1, and then I'm going to add this 20p on, and I'm going to add the 2p. So I go £1, and then it's £1.20, and then £1.22. And the way that I'd write that down is I'd always include my pound symbol, £1, and then only my decimal point to show the difference between the pound and the pence. So £1, decimal point, and 22. And you could put your pence on the end. £1 and 22 pence. Now I'm looking at the second one below, and there's more coins there. So you would think if there's more coins, it's going to be worth more of an amount in the total. It always is going to be harder to count, I suppose. You've got 50 plus 50 is 100 pence. 100 pence is the same as a pound. So I can go 50, £1, £1, 10 pence, £1, 20 pence, £1, 21 pence, £1, 22 pence. So actually there's more coins, but they are worth the same amount as that top section there. So that's a really, really important part of learning about money, is that you can make the same total but with different coins, with different parts. So if that was, say, a part and whole model, I'd have the same whole. Let's try and draw that for you. Part and whole model. Let's go new. Let's go with a new one here. Give us enough room. Okay, so if I was going to do a part and whole model, I have my whole up here, which is the £1, 22 pence as my whole. I've then got different parts to that whole. So the first one was £1. I then add 20p and I add 2p. Okay, if I add these parts together, it would make this hole here. But as we showed in this section down here, my parts have changed, but the whole would stay the same. So that's quite important to know. And that question will come up time and time again. How many ways can you make 38p? How many ways can you make £4.27? All the time. Right, so I suppose the last question that we've got to answer is, why is there different coins, different notes? Why haven't we just got one coin that can just be added together and together to make any amount? Well, here I suppose you've got to think that if you're buying something for let's say £4.27, then if we only had the 1p coin, let's write that down, it might make some more sense. £4.27. If I only have 1p's to make that amount, that means that I've got to count out 427 pennies every time I want to buy something for just £4.27. So that makes no sense. So it's a bit of a skip, I suppose, a bit of a quicker way to make larger amounts of money. So I've got the pounds there. So you might be asking, well, okay, well that's fine. Why don't you have just pounds, £1 and 1p? Make it simpler, wouldn't it? Well, no, because that means then I've still got that 27 to count out. And you go and have a go at it. Go and count out 27 pennies, and it still takes quite a long time. So that's why we've got the coins like the 20p and the 50p, just because if we're trying to get to 27, well, 20 is a large chunk of that 27 gone in one coin. It's also really handy for when you're giving change. Say someone's paying for something that costs £4.98 and they're paying with a £5 note. Well, it's easier to just give them 2p change, isn't it? So it's much easier with that change as well. Right, so have a go at the next few slides. The answers are there for you to have a look at, and then decide what chili challenge you like to have a go at. There's chili 1, chili 2, and chili 3. On chili 1, I've put some other activities that I think are really beneficial as well for you to have a go at.